Three quarterbacks entered this spring game. How did they leave it, and what order did they leave it in?
Oh. Well, I think that if you are to say that Steve Angeli exited anything other than number 1 in this spring, he exited number 3 and he's gone. And I don't think that he finished number 1 this spring. I think through the spring, from what we've heard and read and seen now, Minchie was clearly the quarterback that sort of took a lot of the oxygen out of the room in this battle and asserted himself like Minchie, right? And he looked pretty good. He looked great with his legs. There's a lot of things and I think that a format like this severely hampers Minchie's ability to do his thing with his game, because a large component of it is his legs, and not just his legs as far as like running like Riley Leonard, but his escapability and his scrambling, which is what everybody's saying is what they've seen throughout the spring camp. Is it's not really his get off and go when a play breaks down. It's that he scrambles to buy time, more Mahomesian than say like Josh Allen. And then, I mean, in this game, was Carr your favorite this game?
Yeah, Carr was my favorite. I thought he started so well. To answer my own question, I guess I would have to agree with the chat. I think it was Carr, Minchie, and Jelly. Carr, he started 9 for 11, a little over 100 yards and a touchdown. He came out firing. His ball looked good. He looked like he had that different level of arm talent that we had always kind of heard of.
He was healthy, feathering it over the layered defense. It was on both of his throws to the tight end, those back shoulder. It's just right over the shoulder. It's just beautiful passes.
I hate to sound like an apologist, but when I think to that interception, I'm almost like, who is throwing that in this room right now? Like, who actually believes that they could have completed that ball as maybe like of a bad decision as it was to just throw it over the middle like that, and it did end up being a turnover. Like, the confidence too just felt like it was there, and I was surprised. If you had told me last week, I would have said Angeli's in this somewhat. He has to be, right? He's got to be, not just because of the experience, but I'm thinking he can take that and produce it into a spring game and, spring practices that will elevate him to a spot where he is the starter or he feels compelled not to leave. But I think right now he's third. CJ Carr's clearly got something that maybe even the other two don't have, but Kenny Minchie definitely impressed me. We had heard stuff, throughout this entire spring. You brought it up a couple shows ago where you were talking that you were hearing that he was the guy. He was one of the guys, and he's definitely got something the other two don't. And that's that escapability, that running. And as you mentioned,
he can do a backflip.
Totally hampered. Yeah. I was just going to get to that. A backflip after the rushing touchdown too. No. And that was so great to see. So cool to see, because it's totally different vibes on the ground than a Riley Leonard. And can move plenty more than like Sam Hartman or really most of the guys that came before him. Even like Ian Book was pretty mobile, like to an extent. So Kenny Minchie definitely brings a running style to this quarterback position that we haven't seen. But even with everything, I think, the passing, Minchie was probably in the middle second. His running was first. CJ Carr, just a different level, did a lot, just produced so much and really was able to move the ball. And Angeli just felt like it was maybe the same issue before, where it didn't wow you, didn't feel like he took like a big leap. Maybe he took another step, because this offense was moving with all these quarterbacks.
Yeah. He caught a groove because he started 1 for 4, and he took another one of those sacks where he just holds onto the ball too long, and it's the reason why I can't get behind it, because I understand there are a lot of people team Angeli, and I understand that peanut butter Angeli time, but the thing that I can't get over is that every time that I see him play, it's the same mistake of like, he should never have to buy a beer in the city of South Bend for what he did at the end of that Penn State game. Thank you very much for your services. Phenomenal. But he did almost give the game away, holding onto the ball too long, sack fumbling, on that play, on that same drive. And it's just it's a commonality in for an offense like Notre Dame's, where it's predicated on the run. A lot of times taking a sack like that is basically like ending the drive. So you can't do those things. And the fact that I'm still seeing it going into his final year of eligibility is kind of maddening. But I don't know. Maybe the coaches have some different things, like you said, with the tape, judging them based off of who their linemen were for it. Maybe that 1-for-4 start and the fumble they're not counting because he didn't have his what they deemed as the alignment of linemen necessary for being graded. But I can't look at this game
like from Freeman. Like that was a comment that I was trying to grasp my head around even at the beginning. But yes, continue with Angeli there.
Yeah, I just look at it as when you have a quarterback that does not have any remaining eligibility, and you are at a program like Notre Dame, if you do not have any eligibility, in the coaching staff is looking at it, and if they ask the question, and this is the Miller Moss effect, and you ask the question, can this quarterback win a national title for my school this year? Can they contribute, I should say, to winning a national title? And if the answer is no, then you cannot start him. And it doesn't matter what's behind him. You just cannot. You have to, because that quarterback, this isn't the NFL, like in the NFL where you have the guys behind it. It's like, you bring in a guy like a Kirk Cousins, and he'll start and then transition to the rookie midway through the season. Like, that's not fair to Angeli. It's not fair to the program. They need to establish immediately, for his sake and for the program's sake, because Freeman said it, you can't go into the fall. You're going into the fall with you got to go in with two quarterbacks. So you can't keep playing footsie. I mean, now that spring's over and everybody's got their reps, I think the coaching staff needs to have and if he's still here, I mean, and wants to do it, like that's phenomenal. But I would not begrudge him if he moved on. But from what I've seen in the spring game, as well as from what we've heard inside the facility and at practices and at the scrimmage, I mean, he didn't win the job.
Yeah, he definitely did not win the job. I think there's definitely the vibe around the entire spring game that a lot of people were able to exhale a little bit and agree that, hey, you can win football games with all three of these guys at the helm. I mean, you're not dogging on Angeli, but
no, I think Angeli.
Exactly.
I think Angeli could easily start the season 2-0. I think Angeli could go in and beat Miami, and I think Angeli could beat Texas A&M. But I'm not really concerned with the win-loss of the first two games of the season, because as we saw, you can lose a game to NIU at the beginning of the year, and you can bounce back and go to the college football championship. So I'm not as concerned about that. It's when Notre Dame is matched up with the team at the end of the year after they played 15 games, what's the quarterback that I think can help them win the football game? And I think they could win a lot of football games with Steve Angeli, but I don't think he's the quarterback to get them over the hump. And I think that Minchie provides a set of skills that can, and I think that CJ Carr provides a set of skills separate from Minchie, but that could also get it done. So that's just sort of how I take the race.
Yeah.
But as far as like judging between the two of them, it's like an episode of Chopped, man. Like, we're watching the dessert round, and just because CJ Carr won the dessert round, like, we don't know what Minchie did in the appetizer. We don't know what Minchie did with the main course. Like, Minchie could have crushed those two, and the dessert round was just a formality. So it's tough to really say who does, but I feel comfortable that those two are probably going to be the ones moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, if Freeman were to get up on the podium and say, hey, look, this guy is our number 3 quarterback, and he's going to name it, and then that just split second before he says who number 3 is, you would probably be genuinely shocked if he said CJ Carr or Kenny Minchie. And that should probably just tell you the same thing that everybody's been preaching this entire spring, is that unfortunately Angeli's floor is high. It's the same as it's been. Like you said, he should never have to buy himself a beer, like in that area around campus ever again, because of what he did at Penn State. But when we're still talking about some of the same issues, holding on to the ball too long, or maybe not being able to have that upper elite level of play that can elevate this team, not just help you win the games because you've got a great defensive line, an amazing offensive line, tight ends, weapons everywhere, greatest returning, running back room or the best returning running back room in the nation. He should be able to elevate you when you're playing Ohio State. He should be able to do it, and it just feels like you're just not seeing it. And then the reports, like you mentioned, we don't know what the appetizer was like. We only know the dessert. We don't know the entree. We don't know how this really went this spring. And it's just clear after the first bit of actual live look that Angeli was probably 3. And I do think over the next few days, when things are wrapped up, he probably will find himself a new home, and that's okay too.
Yeah. And I mean, because I think for Angeli, 2 is as good as 3. So even if he finishes 2, like he had to finish spring 1. Because you can't go into that you can't go into your final season of eligibility. He has a Notre Dame degree in hand. You can't go into that final year not with assurances that you're going to start, because you might never play football game. So get out there and Tennessee needs a quarterback. Like you laugh and I laugh.
Yeah, I mean,
but like Tennessee needs a.
I was thinking of it actually from the old perspective of UCF. A lot of programs will welcome in Angeli. Like I was thinking, and then this was also telling too. I was thinking, where would he go? Like when the spring game was getting towards the end, I was like, well, if you're right, like 2's as good as 3, and he probably needs to have some sort of more assurance to be, the guy who comes back in the fall. So where would he go? And I think it's pretty telling. He's a very talented quarterback, and there's going to be programs, even still in the Power 4, maybe like lower level programs, still looking to rebuild. He honestly could start for. Very good. This is and there's so many quarterbacks that move around, so many like grad transfers too. Certainly not anything that we haven't heard of. And that's okay. But Angeli it's the high floor, low ceiling thing. And are they willing to do that again? Because you thought you were getting a little bit more from Sam Hartman, and you definitely thought, at least through the air, you were going to get more from Riley Leonard. Do they want to do that again? I don't think they do. I don't think they're going to let any of the past affect the decision. Just as they mentioned, hey, this was going to be an open quarterback race. Kenny Minchie was going to have just as good of a shot at it, or just as much of a shot at it as anybody else. I think that they're going to try to avoid making that decision based off of the past, what they've gotten from the other transfers. But yeah, I think Angeli, unfortunately, I think he will end up having to walk. But that's also the good thing about college football, is that he can find another home and isn't stuck on the roster in his final year being the third string quarterback.
And you wonder, if this version of Steve Angeli was on the 22 Notre Dame football team, they probably would have made the playoff, right? If it wasn't True Pine and it was this version of Angeli. I think with the talent they had with Aldrich Estime and Logan Diggs, I think they would have been able to. Which is hilarious to think about. But yeah, so in terms of Jake Grizz asks about could a Steve Spurrier rotating 2 QB work, and they do have separate enough skill sets, so you could do maybe sort of like a Chrisley Tebow, or you could do. But I think the reason why I wouldn't is because neither one of them is a vet. So where you could have like a Belldozer situation with Minchie. I don't know if you want to mess with a young quarterback making switches like that in the red zone. Because like it kind of worked a little bit, what was it? 2018 with the they would bring in, before they eventually benched Wimbush, but when they would bring in Book for the red zone plays, and maybe you could do that, but I thought that maybe that could be a component, because what if it's Carr and Minchie does like some packages and bring them in there? But like, can you think of a recent example of that working out to
I mean,
national title success?
without a veteran quarterback, not off the top of my head. My thought, because I did actually have that thought during the spring game, was okay. So Angeli's probably leaving, so then I'm guessing CJ Carr is going to take this home, and he's going to be that starter that we're going to see in the first game on opening day here. And then Kenny Minchie, we'd see him a lot on 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2. But then you have such a deep quarterback room. Why would you want to risk an injury to Minchie if you're running like some sort of option, or you're running some sort of like spread out offense where you do maybe a quarterback draw, similar to what we did with Riley Leonard that entire drive for Ohio State and all year. I think that maybe in a sense could work if you can find a bit of a balance for it. But yeah, it's a little risky, but I'm thinking of it more so on the injury side. Like, I don't know if I would want to trot out,
because
also
I mean,
small.
Riley Leonard was 6'4" and built from granite. Like, he was built to bang. Kenny Minchie's only 6'2" and like 206, so he's more of a slight speedier guy, and he's more scooty. Like, he's more looking to run to scramble so he can throw the ball. I'm not sure if QB power, off tackle is really what he's doing. And why would you do that with him when you could just direct snap it to Jeremiah Love or direct snap it to Jadarian Price? So I don't know if bringing in Minchie for a running component, why you wouldn't just give another touch to Jeremiah Love. That would seem like what I would want to do.
I think that would be something maybe next year, depending on how that quarterback room looks, maybe how well CJ Carr were to play as 1 year as a starter, depending, looking even further ahead there. But yeah, why would you want to run it with your quarterback when you have such a talented running back room, such a veteran running back room, plenty of options in that running back room? I don't really see it, but like, there is definitely something to be said that he is the main mover in this quarterback room. He is the guy who can make plays with his legs, and this is not over. Like, this quarterback race, if everybody seems to be kind of in a bit of an agreement that, hey, look, CJ Carr number 1, Kenny Minchie number 2, Steve Angeli will probably have to look elsewhere. But I think when we get to the fall,
it's going to be brutal.
I think it's both these guys
in the best way.
Even the
I
start
think.
again.
Yeah, I think we're going to get an iron sharpening iron situation in here. I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where both QBs struggle, fail, and then they're him-hawing about who they're going to start. I think this is a race that either guy could take, and whoever wins, I think, could take Notre Dame to a college football playoff, especially with the defense and the secondary that Notre Dame's going to have, and the running game and the offensive line. Once they get all the pieces back on the offensive line, and Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, it's just the quarterback needs to be able to make plays when he's asked to make plays. And I have full confidence that either one of those two can be playmakers that will positively impact the game, and not just a game manager that's there to, hand the ball off. So I'm excited for it. And we'll get some clarification on how the battle truly ended up. But I don't think we'll get a who's 1, 2, or 3. I think we're just going to find out who transfers. And then when that's made, then we kind of know. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to know who's outwardly at which position, but we'll know who's 3 depending on who ends up going, because I still think that if either, and I know this sounds like a bizarro world just based off of us feeling like we know who it is, but I feel like if it was CJ Carr at 3, I think he would be gone. I think if it was Kenny Minchie at 3, I think he'd be gone as well, and I think that's why Steve Angeli will be going too, because I don't think any of those guys have played bad, and I think they all understand they could probably start wherever is looking for the most part. Obviously, you got some pretty good quarterbacks in the portal, but I think most of those guys would be at the top of the line for a lot of different places, or the front of the line, and they could pretty much choose wherever they would want to go. My official pick, though, after the spring game and where we're headed for the fall, would probably be CJ Carr.